Good afternoon, Rich Nass with Embedded Computing Design. I am here for part one of a five-part series that we're doing with IoT Systems to discuss their C-Trust tool. My guest here for part one is Haydn Povey. He's the CEO of Secure Thingz. He's also the general manager of the Embedded Security Solutions division of IoT Systems. And if that's not enough, he's also on the steering committee of the IoT Security Foundation. Good afternoon, Haydn. How are you?
Pleasure to talk.
This is actually part one of a five-part series that we're doing with IoT Systems surrounding the C-Trust tool. We want to start with part one, where we're looking at about 20,000 feet, where we're talking about the legislative issues that a developer, design engineer should know about.
It's a great place to start. And obviously things are changing rapidly around the world as the Internet of Things impacts us, impacts smart city, smart consumer, smart industry, and all of these things are driving a lot of activities around the industry and how devices are going to be consumed and used. There are a number of reasons for integrating security into a product, obviously, and some of those I think will be covered in other presentations, but there is IP protection, there is production control. But for most people, the reason that they want to put in security really is that they have to meet the requirements which are hitting the industry right now. The legislation really started back, I think, in the UK with the work that we did at the IoT Security Foundation. We have developed 13 best practices. So looking across different industries, mil-aero, communications, and all of these other areas. And we really defined the 13 best practices which can be targeted. Now, 13 is still actually a very big number in terms of the things an engineer has to think about.
So does this circle back to the C-Trust tool where some of these things are actually automated and the developer doesn't even need to think about them?
That's exactly right. Security is a science in its own right.
So what are we looking at here, Haydn?
So C-Trust obviously helps us with the legislation, and these are the 13 best practices which were defined by the IoT Security Foundation and later adopted by the UK government through the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport. Subsequently, these have also been adopted by ETSI, the European Telecom Standards Institute, and fundamentally form the bedrock of all of the legislation globally. So there are the 13 best practices here. The real focus is on those central three. And this is also the core of the legislation for California, for Oregon, and for the other US states, which are picking up IoT requirements. So there is a real push to ensure that these are met through the best practices, these 13, through growing legislation from the UK, from the EU, the US with NIST, and also in a number of other standards. So if we look at industrial IoT, the IET 62443 specifications are now putting in, if you like, a purchasing guide. If I need it to be protected against drive-by, if I need to be protected against an advanced persistent threat, or if I need to be protected against a nation-state attack, which is level 4, here are the things that you need. Now, they all require the same technology, perhaps differently applied. But again, this is exactly where C-Trust can help.